covering climate, weather, and the industrial enterprise from Penn State Meteorology. Here is Up in the Air.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Up in the Air. I'm Ryan Gold.
And I'm Joe Spear.
We've got a jam-packed episode for you today with stories about the super bloom in California causing traffic problems and even Puerto Rico's electricity coming back online after Maria.
And we have a feature from former Up in the Air associate Logan Westrop about how weather personalities should be incorporating climate change in their talks. Update in the Air starts right now. Invasive species could see a rapid increase across the globe in the next 30 years as shipping traffic increases. Maritime traffic growth could even surpass the effects of climate change would have on spreading these foreign species. Models developed by a team from McGill University predict a 3 to 20-fold increase in invasion risk from now to 2050. Invasive species can travel across water by either living in ballast water used to stabilize a ship or by riding along as passengers. Once these species reach their destination, they can raise serious economic and ecological issues, but steps are already being made to counter this. The International Ballast Water Management Convention began in 2017 to manage species during ballast exchanges, which has been effective in the Great Lakes. The team also built models for the United Nations' Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change using population and economic changes to see how shipping routes and dependency would change. They found that as both population and economies increase, so does shipping. Based on what their models have told them, the team hopes scientists are more alert of the issue and importance of invasive species.
Southern California's Lake Elsinore is imposing new rules to help manage traffic and massive crowds to see the spectacular superbloom of wildflowers in the area. On March 16th and 17th, between 50,000 and 100,000 people flocked to the canyon, causing massive traffic jams in the city of just 63,000. The recent wet winter has put an end to the 7-year drought California was facing, and it led to the spectacular bloom. It looks like the new spring saying for California is, winter showers bring March flowers.
Stalagmites could bridge the gap between past monsoons and predicting future ones. A team of researchers from Vanderbilt University studied stalagmite growth from the past 50 years in the Maumla Cave in Meghalaya. This northeast Indian state is the rainiest place on Earth because of how much summer monsoon rainfall it experiences. The amount of monsoon rains between June and September provide water for about 1.5 billion people in India. Based on the strength and length of those monsoons, India could feel drastic effects from droughts to flooding. The stalagmites in Maumla Cave show a repeating, powerful multi-year drought that has occurred in the last several thousand years. But stalagmite records aren't only valuable to the regions they are in. These records can paint a global picture, and scientists use them to find changes in monsoon rainfall. Comparing these records to rainfall data in the region, scientists found that it is the dry season, not the monsoon season, that determines variations in stalagmite growth. From these results, the team hopes to bring more awareness and caution to using stalagmite records, along with finding what other secrets they may hold.
18 months after Hurricane Maria destroyed Puerto Rico's electrical grid, power was fully restored on Wednesday, March 20th. Maria was a Category 5 hurricane whose highest sustained winds were recorded at 175 miles per hour. Hurricane Maria did not only destroy Puerto Rico, but also Dominica and the U.S. Virgin Islands. Puerto Rico's citizens and tourists had to rely on power generators until the power company was able to reinstall the underwater cables. The power company's transmission and distribution director has stated that the current system is just a patch job following the September hurricane.
Scientists may have found a new way that glaciers calve, and it's called slumping. The research started after a team of researchers flew over the Helheim Glacier on the east coast of Greenland. The Helheim Glacier ends in the ocean with a wall of ice cliffs that measure 30 stories or 100 meters high. While flying over, scientists could see large cracks on the glacier that creep towards the end of the glacier. In geology, slumping occurs when a chunk of rock breaks away from the surrounding land and slides down a slope. Researchers matched traditional signs of slumping with the glacier. In order to test this, scientists monitored a calving event on the Helheim Glacier and measured speed, position, and motion of the ice. They saw that as the upper section of ice slumps off, it causes the lower section of ice to move upward, rotating the entire piece. The bottom of the glacier will then crack and a large calving event follows. Using this event, the team then modeled other slumping events and when they would happen. The model showed that if an ice cliff is taller than 100 meters, it is more likely to slump. Compared to normal calving, which relies on melting, slumping is much quicker. Calving from slumping can take the 100 meters of ice above the water and the 900 meters below the water. Slumping can even calve ice walls taller than 1,000 meters, and the taller the wall, the more susceptible. Scientists now scramble to see how this could affect other glaciers in the globe, especially in Antarctica, and how it could impact future sea level rise.
Heavy rains and flooding created a rare 10-mile-long lake in the driest spot in the United States, Southern California's Death Valley National Park. Death Valley was soaked by nearly 1 inch of rain the day before this artificial lake was formed. This triples the average rainfall, which for March is around 1/3 of an inch. Since Death Valley is a desert environment, water cannot be easily absorbed, therefore causing standing water there to build until it forms a makeshift lake. Flash flooding can occur even in places that are not raining. So long as there is a stream or river, heavy rain upstream will cause overflows all along the coast of the river.
Welcome back to the show. We now go to a feature from Logan Westrop about how weather people should be incorporating climate change in their talks.
Climate change is one of today's major concerns within the science community. CO2 emissions are continuing to increase, which many studies have shown direct links to rapidly warming global temperatures. But when it comes to climate change being discussed on your local or national news, it is sometimes hard to find coverage on this topic, even within the broadcast meteorology field. Rob Leidick, an on-air meteorologist and researcher at Penn State, says talking about recent weather is important while mentioning a changing climate.
A way to get that conversation into kind of the daily mix of weather, the best way to do that was just talking about the month that we just went through.
MeteorMatters.org, a website for monitoring information in U.S. media, found a 45% drop in climate change coverage over broadcast networks' nightly news and Sunday morning political shows from 2017 to 2018. None of the broadcast TV networks' reports on Hurricanes Florence or Michael mentioned climate change, and solutions or actions offered in response to climate change were mentioned in only a fifth of climate segments aired on ABC, CBS, or NBC. Even the show you're watching right now, Up in the Air, focuses on climate change locally here in Pennsylvania, regionally, and globally. According to a poll from ResearchAmerica.org, 81% of Americans could not correctly identify a single living scientist when asked by pollsters. Many people, even in small towns, have the ability to see a scientist on TV, that being your local meteorologist.
I think the best way for the meteorological community to talk about climate change is, of course, talk about what you know and be a scientist.
For Up in the Air, I'm Logan Westrop.
Welcome back to the show. So Joe, we had our very first spring weekend last week. It was very nice on Saturday, pretty windy, but still very pleasant conditions. But that Sunday and Monday clouds and rain, I just don't want my spring to be like that.
Yeah, and the weekend was a little colder than we thought it was going to be compared to last week's episode, about 10 degrees colder, and it didn't even warm up during the week, and it stayed cloudy even through up to now. And now we'll head over to Kasey over at the Climate Wall to see what she has to say about spring coming.
You know, I don't really have that much good news as far as this weekend goes. Temperature-wise, though, yes. Precipitation-wise, wait till my weekend forecast in just a moment. Almanac data for today, March 28th. This week was the first week that average highs were at or above 50, as well as average lows being at or above 32. So 52 is the average high for today. 33 is the average low. My parents have been in Florida all week celebrating their spring break, and they've been sending me pictures by the pool and the beach. So shout out to that 86 record high back in 1907 with a very bitter cold 5 degrees back in 1923. Temperature outlook for April 2nd through the 8th. What we do as meteorologists, we tend to look at the 500 millibar heights that kind of give us a good indication of departure from average temperatures. So when you have a more meridional flow, which is north to south, as opposed to a zone of flow, which is a more west to easterly flow, that's when we kind of see those temperatures tend to depart from average. So looking down in the southwest, Arizona and New Mexico, great chance of above normal temperatures next week. Up in the northern Rockies and northern plains, below normal, especially you have a good chance if you're in Montana and the northern bits of Wyoming. Down in Texas, though, depending where you're at, if you're in western Texas, you may see about above normal temperatures, and for central Texas as well as eastern Texas, below normal expected. Florida, I don't remember the last time they've had below normal temperatures, at least not since doing this show. So above normal next week if you're still headed out for spring break. Up here in the mid-Atlantic states and along the North Atlantic seaboard, above normal temperatures expected for next week. Precipitation outlook once again for April 2nd through the 8th. No orange on the screen, above normal for most of the country, especially out in the northwest and along the Pacific coast, stretching from Washington down to California, and even stretching all the way over into Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas. Above normal down in Florida as well. Up along the eastern seaboard, kind of slicing Pennsylvania right in half, so the eastern half of the state may have a better chance of above normal precipitation for next week. Southern bit of New York as well as Vermont, Massachusetts, and Connecticut as well. Drought monitor looking down into the four corner regions. This yellow color indicates abnormally dry conditions. Once you get into the tan, moderate drought, orange is extreme drought, and this red here in New Mexico is severe drought. So up in the northwest for Montana, Idaho, Washington, and Oregon, abnormally dry as well as some moderate drought. Abnormally dry conditions down in Florida and in the Carolinas as well. And of course, nothing here up in the mid-Atlantic. Snow depth. The snow is starting to melt. The Sierra Nevada mountains still dealing with a few inches of snow, as well as in the northern Rockies and the northern central plains. Here in the mid-Atlantic and the northeast, the snow is starting to melt. And you see where we kind of have this snow depth here along the ridge. My friend was on a run the other day, and basically the ridge tops still have a couple inches to a coating of snow, as well as some ice packs. So that's my guess as to why we're picking up some snow here in central Pennsylvania. Weekend outlook. If you like warm temperatures, you're going to like Saturday. But if you're not a fan of the rain, you might not like the weekend at all. Temperatures on Saturday flirting with the mid-60s. We do have a chance for rain. A front moves through on Friday. That's why we have this increased chance for rain throughout the weekend. But we do have a cool-off on Sunday, Ryan and Joe. Temperatures might reach 50 as we head into the end of this weekend. So what you do with your weekend, it's really up to you guys.
Well, thanks, Casey. I do like the fact that we're going to be pretty warm, but that rain is still what I don't want. Rain, go away.
Yeah, and it's great to see those warmer temperatures. Maybe it'll actually get to 60 degrees this weekend. And, you know, we can always wait till Sunday evening to get those outdoor plans. But we want to thank you for joining us this week, and make sure to join us next week as we fly up in the air.